Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Jess Chapman. I head up the Corporate Water Leaders Initiative. I'm really pleased to be with you today and introduce this webinar on the Common Water Framework. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick bit of context for anyone who's new to the Corporate Water Leaders, which is also known as CWL. So our initiative sits within Global Water Intelligence, which convenes key players across the water sector. We also publish high-value data analysis and insights. At CWL, our goal is to bring industrial water users together in a pre-competitive space to accelerate action on shared water challenges. This initiative is built by industry and for industry. We draw on the expertise and the practical experience within companies to create solutions that can work at scale for the wider sector. Our Textiles and Leather Task Force was formed when several leading global brands came together with the recognition that water is one of the most material risks facing their industry and that no single company can tackle the issue alone. You can see some of our members here on the slide. Through this task force, our members have been working together to align on water priorities, harmonize supplier expectations, and develop tools that support credible, consistent water management across their value chains. One of the strongest early messages when we first started meeting with this group was that fragmentation was creating a lot of confusion and really slowing down progress on water. This is what led the task force to prioritize the development of this common water framework. This is something which is meant to be a unified, scalable approach for assessing water risk, improving water performance, and driving real impact. This has been a huge collaborative effort, and before we get started today, I just want to take some time to thank our task force members, as well as my colleagues Tilly Lehman and Louise Brennan, for all the hard work that has gone into getting us here today. You're going to be hearing directly from some of our task force members about why this framework matters, how it came together, and how they see it helping industry move forward collectively. To kick things off, I am delighted to hand it over to H&M Group Water Impact Lead Sharif Hoke, who will be introducing the other members speaking today. Sharif.
Thank you, Jess. And today we have two more colleagues to join with me in the session. We welcome Lavinia Bianchi, Sustainable Manufacturing Manager, Water Conservation from Burberry, and Maria Cristina Ligi, Sustainable Supply Chain Manager of Kerry. We welcome you all in the engage in the discussion and write any questions that you might have in the chat, which we will be able to respond towards the last part of our session. Now to start with, Christina, can you briefly share us what we have been done in the past for developing the framework, our ambitions, and can you please also outline what is the next that we are looking at? Over to Christina.
Thank you, Sharif. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to explain you the co-creation, the ambition, and the challenges of corporate water framework. So first, the design of the framework required several stages. First, we started an internal exchange among brands as the first step to develop together a shared definition of the framework. The expertise and experience within brands were different, as well as the level of implementation on water management advancement, but thanks to GWI acting as facilitator, the corporate water leader textile and leather task force was created. Over several months and throughout numerous meetings, we drafted the first version of the framework based on the knowledge of different brands, and by working together from the early stages, brands were able to have a common principle and also to adopt an harmonized approach. The idea is also to facilitate the following phase related to the implementation across supply chains. At this point, we share the draft of the framework with the external organization related to water, textile, and leather, with the aim to collect their reviews and integrate comments and feedback. Then the following phase involve the organization of a pilot with brands' supply chains. Each brand selected a batch of suppliers to apply the framework and to better understand missing point or maybe KPI too challenging or on the opposite too easy. This process allows us to make adjustments to the framework, resulting in the current version. So now the public consultation is open. This period is really important to define the most valuable and high quality framework. And to achieve this, it is important to involve a wide range of stakeholders to gather multiple feedback, not limited to have few sectors, but reached an extended audience. So please feel free to contribute and to give us your feedback, valuable feedback. So moving to the next slide related to the ambitions of the framework. As you know, the water is a critical resource across the fashion value chains, from the raw material production, cotton cultivation, livestock, cellulosic fibers to dyeing, finishing, and manufacturing processing. Currently, we are experiencing sometimes a worsening in water scarcity, water pollution, and flooding years after years. And these indicators are really close related also with the financial and reputational risk of brands and suppliers. Therefore, building resilience together means identifying risk and supporting collective water initiatives. For instance, as brand, our supply chain during the last years has been affected by several flooding events with negative impacts such as machineries damage and the stop of the business. So focusing on risk mitigation is really important, both from an environmental perspective and from a market and business continuity standpoint. So now we are trying to improve, to increase the knowledge of our supply chain, to identifying water-related risk, to mitigate with actions, and to address some issues at early stages. To do this, we are trying to collaborate, to engage with our partners in order also to support them in water efficiency, wastewater treatment, and risk management. And this allows also brands to accelerate in advancement, in improvements, and also to amplify positive impact throughout our value chains. So now moving to the challenge. Next slide. With the next slide, we are really familiar with the context where the framework is positioned. We know that numerous are the tools, the frameworks, the initiatives already in place. And one of the key challenges that we faced was to bring together what already exists, organizing it in a structured way without adding and creating something new. So to better explain this, I would like to share the example of ZDHC. ZDHC published the wastewater guidelines focused on improvement on wastewater quality, and with the aim also to reduce the discharge of hazardous chemicals from wet processing facilities. As corporate water leader, we aligned our framework with these guidelines without adding any additional requirements beyond what the ZDHC specify. Additionally, ZDHC was also one of the reviewers involved in the previous phase. So just to conclude, the idea is to keep this approach to support established industry best practices where they exist without creating anything new, and with the aim also to avoid the duplication and the efforts of our partners. Now I let Lavinia elaborate further on the structure of the framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina. Yes, exactly what you were mentioning. All these frameworks and different standards related to water led to this group where we came together to think in a more holistic way about a framework that would have a cohesive way of integrating all these requirements, all these guidelines into one digestible framework for the supply chain partners to begin or move on to the water stewardship journey. So first of all, we see this common water framework as a capacity building tool for the supply chain partners, where they can first of all start understanding the risks, water-related risks in their facilities, but also beyond the fence, understanding the water impact in their area, because we are very aware that water is a local issue, so we cannot just calculate water impacts using secondary data. It is important to get to the supply chain facilities, get primary data, and this is one of the key elements of this framework where we strongly all agreed during the process of developing the KPIs. Building onto the understanding, there's also the implementation of site, but also catchment-based actions. So we want then this framework to be able to follow up with meaningful, impactful actions that will improve water stewardship and resilience in the supply chain. And then also tracking progress for what relates to what Cristina said, not only just water quality, but water quantity metrics, and then water stewardship beyond the facilities. We understand that it is key to have both internal and external stakeholder engagements, which is also built into the framework. So collaboration, not only amongst the brands of the group at present, but also we hope to further engage more brands so that the supply chain and the whole industry, textile and leather, is aligned on these key guiding principles. So we can move on to the next slide, where I can show you a bit of how the framework is structured. You see there are three key pillars. We built them to, first of all, on the understanding risk and impacts, risk mapping of the facilities, then measuring and understanding the water quantity, the water usage, discharge and consumption of the facility, and then the quality. As we mentioned before, some of these KPIs are aligned, for example, completely with the ZDHC for what regards water quality. Then building onto the governance in terms of risk response to be able to mitigate the risks identified, whether it be scarcity, water availability, flooding, or water quality. Ensuring that our supply chain partners have robust water policies, water management procedures, so that they can also then follow up on all the targets and action plans that we will be developing with them and co-developing to be able to improve on their water management. And further, the third pillar is focused on action, and this is really about the industry engagement, but also what are the process and procedures that will lead to improvements in water management, whether it be water quality or quality management, and stewardship actions beyond the fence of the facility at a basin level in the communities impacted. It's important to see that all these indicators in each pillar have three levels. And again, we try to align with the common language in the industry of the ZDHC. So there are three levels. One is foundational, progressive, and aspirational. We understand that our supply chain partners vary both in size, expertise, and they may be at a very different time in their water journey. So this framework is built with the intent that everyone moves at their own pace, and we understand that not everybody starts from the same level of understanding and management in terms of water. We really some benefits of the common water frameworks. First of all, we want to empower our supply chain to be able to proactively understand what are their gaps, their areas of improvements, and so that they can build their own roadmaps to improve in their water stewardship. The framework is intentionally flexible, so again, it will only allow also supply chain to be able to understand and move at their own pace, but also brands to complement it with their own water strategies, which is different from a brand to another. It's important to say that suppliers may achieve different levels for each different pillar or indicator. Not everyone may be at a progressive level. Some may be at foundational level for what concern the actions. Some of them may be at aspirational level. So this is how the flexibility is built in, so that in this the implementation phase, we understand the status of our supply chain. And finally, I would like to add that each level in each KPI builds onto the past ones, so that the first level really builds onto the foundation of what we agreed were the basis for building a very solid and thorough water stewardship and management supply chain in our sector. I would say that's it from my side. I will now pass it on to Sharif, who will discuss the Common Water Framework ecosystem and document.
Thank you, Lavinia. And as explained, the water framework exists as an ecosystem of documents with the guidance to support both brands and supplier for the indicators and understanding how the framework aligns with other standards, tools, framework that we are already using. However, all these documents are not meant for fully finished or fully complete. So we have kept a level of maturity within all these documents, which need really your input, feedback, suggestions to go forward. And this public consultations will allow us to gather all those feedbacks to extend this framework with a very diverse stakeholder like you all. So we encourage you all to participate in the consulting process to sharpen and improve the framework further. This is only the first step, but we hope to reach to the next level together with you all and your feedbacks. Next slide. But then we are not been yet done. We knew that there are few areas where we need to kind of be more iterative, on the basis of tools, initiative, reporting, and the regulations that has been coming up. And that would also impact how we want to develop the framework in the future. And this will be the reason why it would be reflected into the interoperability that would guide us in all the indicators that we have been agreed upon. The couple of key topics that we will further look into the next iterations of framework, basically into all kind of lexicon connected to water stewardship. We believe there are many terms even starts with recycled water or reused water need to be further clarified for our whole value chain. So we will need to create that common understanding as a basis of terminology. Data collection is one of the areas which has been identified is one of the area where we really like to strive on. So harmonizing the data collections from different data platform and how we can collaborate in between those platforms will allow our business partners to not to duplicate their data reporting, but having a more streamlined way of reporting data to their brand partners. We also like to look into the performance dimension, how a supplier or a facility A or B or C is been performing in all those different dimensions. Especially, we like to integrate performance indicators to build how the capacity build connection has been also matched on in our current focus of framework. And of course, we will also look into what kind of need, capacity building and implementation support is being needed for not only for brands, but also for our business partners. And then in future also, we would like to open up for new indicators and some of the scope, which has been not been looked into the current versions, like water, water and sanitation and hygiene, biodiversity, and the water impact in the raw material phase. This would be the kind of area that we will further look into and make sure that how we can incorporate in those things into the upcoming iteration. I would now like to invite Jess to share her thoughts and then kind of moderate the Q&A session if there is any questions we have been already received. Over to you, Jess.
Okay, thank you, Sharif and Maria Cristina and Lavinia. I think this initiative is a very strong one for this industry. I'm really proud of the work that the members have put into this. As I said, it's been a lot of hard work, kind of aligning these priorities and getting on the same page about the direction that the industry needs to go. But I think it sets out a clear ambition and a clear path forward for brands and their suppliers. So we're really excited to share this with you, and we would love, again, for you to be part of the public consultation. If you use this QR code here, you can access the different Common Water Framework documents, which are part of the package. You can also access the form, which will allow you to provide comments as part of the public consultation. So I encourage you to please do read through carefully and give us your feedback. If anybody has questions now, we would be happy to take questions. You can pose them to someone in particular or to the group at large. Please do share them in the chat, the Q&A chat box. And I will just pause there. Oh, also, if you would like to ask for more information or have, a broader discussion about something, here's our email addresses. You can reach me for anything related to the Corporate Water Leaders Initiative. Louise Brennan is our Textiles and Leather Task Force Manager, and Tilly Lehman, she was the one who worked primarily with the brands to incorporate all of what needed to be part of the Common Water Framework, all of the different KPIs and the research and everything that backs it up. So please do reach out to us if you have anything to ask or any comments to share. Let's see if we have any questions coming in. Okay, so one question I have here is, what are the expectations for brands in terms of supporting supplier implementation? I think this is a great question for one of our brand members to talk about, especially from the context within their own organization. Does anybody want to answer this one?
Maybe I can go first, but I guess everyone else will follow. We are planning, of course, to do dedicated sessions and training sessions. We understand the framework may be a lot to digest at the beginning, all the KPIs, and I think it's important. We think it's important to build a robust knowledge around how to actually adopt the framework within the supply chain.
Sharif or Maria Cristina, did you want to add anything there?
No,
No,
I agree with please,
sorry, go
Sharif.
ahead.
Okay,
Sure.
I agree with Lavinia. The part related to the training is really important for us, and for sure we will organize also one-to-one call with our main partners to have a complete understanding regarding the possibility to this framework, maybe the lack of some points and the need of support. So we are completely available to support our partners.
Great.
No, and I would just add with Christina and Lavinia is that we have also seen that many of our business partners are already been very much advanced, and probably this framework has been kind of will give them a overall boundary how we have been moving towards the common directions. But of course, there would be business partners, suppliers, facility where they need help, and of course that is in our considerations how we in a best way we can support them.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you, Sharif. Okay, we have another one here. Is there a cost involved in being a part of this? Tilly, did you want to answer this question?
Yeah, so there's not directly a cost. It doesn't cost anything to use this framework. We don't have any charges involved there. We've designed it so there's as low financial barriers as possible for suppliers to implement it, because we recognize that, especially for smaller suppliers working on tight margins, we don't want to expect any excessive financial cost. As suppliers move through the framework and advance and build that capacity, there are some indicators which might incur a cost. So, for example, if you're looking at improving processes and procedures, you might be looking at a technological upgrade. That's not mandatory, but that's something that a supplier might want to do as part of this. Of course, that would involve a cost, but then that's very much up to the supplier. So in that sense, suppliers really take the lead on how much they want to spend here, but we definitely don't want it to be a barrier to implementation.
Okay, we have another question here. Are you open to collaborating with water tech startups who want to reduce water treatment costs? I want to start, I guess, answering this question, and I can also open it up to the members as well for their perspectives. But as I said in the beginning, the corporate water leaders is by industry for industry, in the sense that we work directly with the industrial water users themselves. So in our meetings, they are closed to these types of companies. Technological innovation is something that comes up quite often, as obviously, there are solutions, technological solutions to a lot of these shared challenges that companies face. I think, we will get to the point, just corporate water leaders in general, where, we are happy to explore what something might need, or, what kind of relationships might be fruitful for the initiative in support of our members, but we don't necessarily bring members in to collaborate directly with technology providers, if that makes any sense. Did anyone else want to add anything?
No, I think it was clear.
Okay, I do want to mention, this is very early days, but something that we are working on within this Textiles and Leather Task Force in particular is a sort of technology lighthouse system. We're not ready to share anything about that publicly just yet, but please stay tuned, because it sounds like whoever asked this particular question might be interested in what we have coming there. So, okay, let's see, what other questions do we have? We have another question. How flexible is this framework for different geographies? Also, what about different processes or different types of suppliers? I think this is also for Tilly, and then open to comment from the other task force members.
Yeah, so we've tried to keep as many supplier types, processes, and geographies in mind. We do want this to be as far-reaching as possible. Currently, the scope, I would say, is geared more towards manufacturing processes, but we'd like to explore further down the value chain, especially going forward. And there is a requirement to, pass this down the value chain. And hopefully that will create more transparency and provide learnings that we can then incorporate back into the indicators. So it does eventually get more geared towards as low as tier 4, so even the raw material stage.
If I can add one point, during the pilot phase, we tried to engage suppliers located in different countries with the process, not with the same process, and also with different level of advancement on water topic, just to have a complete picture and to adapt our framework to several types of companies.
Thank you. Another question, will the session and recording be shared? Yes, if you've registered for this, you will receive the slides and the recording via email. So no problems there. Okay, we have some more questions coming in right now. How will data collection work? How is this not another thing for suppliers to have to report on? Do one of the members want to address this? Or Tilly or Lavinia, it looks like you want to say something.
Me, Christina, and I can respond on. Of course, the data at the moment, there isn't a single tool for what concern all different types of all the different members part of the group. We are part of a group, the European Accelerator, where we try to work, where we worked and we published an harmonized questionnaire with other brands looking at all of environmental data, so not only water, but also waste and energy. And this is being launched and has been launched this year. So maybe Christina, if you want to add on this.
Yes, the idea probably in the future is to integrate part of this framework in the current questionnaire mentioned by Lavinia from the European Accelerator, also because many of suppliers working with, for instance, Caring are also suppliers of other luxury brands. So the idea is to harmonize the approach and the questionnaire and the continuous request from brands, and also to facilitate the replies of our suppliers. So this is the final idea. We are trying to work to this direction. It's not easy, but we have really clear this focus and where we would like to, what we would like to reach.
Thank you. Okay, we have another one. This one looks like it is for the brands. If you had to prioritize one capability your organization needs to strengthen this year to move commitment to measurable water impact, what would it be?
I can say that it's for me, it's data, KPIs, and making sure the data has been absolutely traceable.
Traceability is a good one. Yes.
As Burberry, we can align on what Sharif just mentioned because we don't have currently a smart water reduction target. So data and building the foundation on the baseline on what this target will probably look like in the future is really essential. And the the data needs to be assured and verifiable and as accurate as possible.
Yes, I agree with Sharif and Lavinia. Data quality is a key point. Now we are really focused on this because data are the base for all the projects and programs that we would like to build and to progress in the future.
Okay. We have another one. This sounds interesting. I'm a small supplier. We have limited capacity. What do you suggest? So I think some of our members have small suppliers. How do you see this being relevant for them?
Probably as caring, we will apply. It's not mandatory to complete all the framework. The idea is to have a flexible framework. So we would like also to adapt the type of request and the efforts related to the reply to the answers of the framework based also on the size of suppliers. So the idea is to have this exchange with our suppliers, also the small suppliers, to better understand how to support and how it's possible to reach at the beginning, and maybe in the future we can advance and we can extend also with additional requests or project programs and so on.
Okay. There's another question here about measuring performance. How are you going to measure performance? Is there some kind of scoring system involved? I think this is probably a question for Tilly.
So there currently isn't a scoring system. It's something that we have discussed, but I think for us it's important that we see how implementation works on the ground and get feedback from suppliers that have kind of gone through the journey to understand how we can create a scoring mechanism, how to weight the different indicators, and also how to make that maximally effective for what brands are aiming for and for building capability within suppliers.
We have another one. Have you considered the Alliance for Water Stewardship Standard and Science-Based Target Networks and CEO Water Mandate in your framework for target setting? I think this is also a question for Tilly.
So yes, we've considered all of these. As you go through the documents, some of these things will be referenced more than others, and that really depends on how we've understood these things within the stage that we're at currently. So, for example, in our targets indicator, we don't require science-based targets, but we do set out that it's very much recognized as a best practice. As companies pick this up more and as the framework develops, science-based targets will eventually become something that's expected at the aspirational level. But at the moment, we feel like it's quite early days, especially for smaller suppliers, that we don't want to feel left out here. CEO Water Mandate, again, it's well recognized. Positive Water Impact Framework, for example, we've included this in our interoperability guide. Again, we recognize that this is very important and we see some very strong alignment there. And the same with Alliance for Water Stewardship Standard. Again, this is recognized as a best practice within the industry and several industries. So it's something that we've definitely considered. And I would encourage everyone to check out the interoperability guide to look at more detail into how we see the alignment with these things.
Great, thank you. We do have another one. How are the brands going to ensure that their suppliers are being compliant? So, any insights from our task force members?
Well, alongside the framework, maybe I can start. We will require supporting documentation. So in the implementation of the framework, we will understand better, but the idea is that the indicators are validated throughout evidence and the data that is then going to be verified by us in the first instance. This is the beginning, I would say.
Okay, I just want to add to that for each of the indicators in this framework, we try to be very clear about what kind of documentation or supporting evidence is required. We, as we've said before, we're working on ways to kind of streamline providing that evidence. That way, it's not something that suppliers need to do over and over and over again for each and every brand that they work with who is implementing this framework. There's another question. This is also more for, I think this is more for the brands. What would it take in terms of insights or input from suppliers for companies to be open to co-financing impacts, including technology upgrades or collective action projects? So what kind of information are you looking for from your suppliers to get you interested in working with them on these things?
I can take that, Jess. I think this is a very interesting question, and from I think from H&M or from all the collaborative groups, we have been quite open to any kind of a collaborative opportunity, be it in the innovations, be it in the kind of a financing for upgradations, and also kind of even something related to, like at H&M we say waterless dyeing. We are very much open to that, but to do that, of course, I mean, we do not just look into what kind of the performance, but also kind of how the partnership has been kind of with specific factories and the long-term commitments. If there is anything has been there, of course, we have been very much open to kind of engage into any discussion. But also that's beyond that one-to-one discussions. We have been also going through some of the platforms like AII, and specifically from some green funding initiatives, where our business partner can access those funds for all those areas that has been mentioned so far.
Great. Christina and Lavinia, do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's the same for us. We are really open to cooperate. The framework is the first step to understand where we stand, and also to have and collect information related to figures, performance, but maybe also some initiatives. Sometimes can be that we are not aware regarding some project or specific projects which is already in place with our partners, with our suppliers. So this is the first step. Then the idea is to have a path and together to progress in this direction.
Great. Okay, we have another one for the brands. All three of you mentioned supplier data gaps. Is the bigger challenge data availability, data reliability, or getting suppliers to prioritize and share consistently? So what kinds of challenges are you facing?
I think it's a mix of all these things that has been kind of said there. Thing. Not all the suppliers has the same kind of a width and breadth in terms of data dimensions. Many of the suppliers need to report on the data, on the quantity, quality, usage, and all those things. But of course, whenever data has been reported, a certain level of assurance has been missing. And of course, a third-party verifier or validator can do some kind of a validation, but we have been still quite away from having a clear assurance process, how to make sure the data has been correct. And also, we also understand that water can be influenced in many other dimensions as well. So a single number is not giving us enough information unless we also collect the data in context. That is something, a challenge that we see, that numbers are not saying the full information to us, where we need to know much more information, and it has been very, very kind of a, I would say, and big task or challenging task to kind of go down and ask for more and more information to validate those data.
Okay, got another one here. It seems like these brands will be wanting their suppliers to implement this, but what is your ask of suppliers that are not within your value chain and other brands?
Please use it.
Maybe.
Give us feedback if
Yes.
it has been helping you all. It's not a kind of a very closed things. It's quite open. We have been working for the whole supply chain and for the co-benefit for all of us. So please use it as your own kind of a need. Get back to us if there is any feedback you like to proceed, and we will make sure that we are not doing only by the brands here, but also beyond everyone. And the more and more we hope to see that more brands has been aligning, because we will then have a common voice to for water.
Yes, to add to that, of course we thoroughly believe in this project and in this framework. We not only went through a pilot phase, we got it reviewed by other organizations, not only the ZGC, WWF, Textile Exchange, to name a few, maybe also AWS. So we also aim not only to cascade it down in our direct supply chain, but to go upstream as well, which is where the impact is the greatest. So even if you're not in our direct supply chain, it doesn't mean you will get involved at some point. And also other brands, please feel free to join us, because the more we share, and the more the supply chain is aligned on these principles.
Yes, in the future, maybe the approach would be similar to ZDHC. So the idea is to have our direct suppliers involved by brands, but with the idea to make them responsible and also in charge for the upstream supply chain. So maybe now we can start with the first layer, and then in the future we will move to involve the entire supply chain.
I think that's a great ambition. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. So, I mean, that was a positive note to end on. I think we'll probably leave it there. Again, if you have a question that comes up later, please feel free to reach out to us, one of these email addresses here. We'll be happy to get back in touch with you. Well, it looks like there might be one more question coming in. We'll just wait a second. I can see the ellipses. Nope, okay, it's gone. All right, then we'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, task force members, for agreeing to do this webinar today. It was very valuable to hear your perspectives and to hear all about how you've been working together on this project. I think it will make a great difference for the industry, and we're very excited to roll it out. So, yes, please do give us your feedback in the public consultation form. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.